So if you guys could share that on Facebook and
yes,
absolutely.
I can barely hear myself.
Is your headphones kind of dim? Like I can hear you quite well.
Okay, well if everyone else can hear me, that's fine. I just need to get better headphones, maybe.
My headphones are actually sounding really weird today, but I'm going to trust our audio quality. Anybody else?
Trust the process.
Trust the process.
Yes.
All right.
Cool. Not me.
Dang it, you guys! This always happens.
All right, I'm gonna hit the button.
What button? That button.
Hello and welcome to Beers of the Round Table.
We're actually not going to be doing a cast today. We just wanted to say hi.
How are you guys doing?
That's good.
Okay.
Let us know. All right.
Just checking the meters over here. So yeah, kind of a special cast for us today. I know that we've been anticipating this for. I really want to say it's been since June.
Since my birthday.
It's been a while.
My birthday's not in June.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
we bought this a long time ago.
Yeah. No, it's been since it was June. I'm
pretty sure it was June. Anyway, so we bought a very big bottle of beer. Actually, yeah, you can see it in the camera. Like if you just look right here.
Yeah, if you're watching on our live stream, or if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see it.
It's pretty big.
Big.
It's a massive beer.
Yeah.
We've taken to calling it the big ass bottle of beer.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
Is
BABBY.
Is the stem crooked like the neck?
It very well could be. I mean,
it's like uneven.
I imagine there's an immense amount of pressure. It's funny story. Back when the Bearded Monk had first opened, and we were first visiting there, they had one of these bottles in there, and I think their cork was coming out.
Wow.
Like it looked like it was halfway out of the bottle. And I remember telling them about it, and Ben was over there trying to shove it back into the bottle. I was like, but on our bottle, there's actually a little bit of glue around the cork. So maybe they've wisened up.
Is this safe to drink?
It should be. I mean,
should we open this in like a bucket just in case the bottom explodes?
Well, anyway, I'm gonna attempt to open it.
You sure?
Well, you gotta do it right next to the mic so you get that pop.
Oh, you'll hear it.
Put your mic over there.
I'm scared.
Oh God, I think this might be the thing that just
he's untwisting it.
Hey, you
I'm in danger.
You guys remember having last time we all watched Brad open a beer?
Oh God, yeah, he almost died.
Here
Boca 31, he popped the thing on the bucket and just exploded.
It was whenever he tried to help us, or whenever we moved the couch into my house. I think is what it was.
Oh, well, I wasn't there. Oh, he's twisting. He's twisting.
Stop, damn it!
Still twisting. Like, here, Brad, grab it like that.
Firmly grasp it.
He's got the right idea.
Bro, I'm getting worried that it's gonna break off in there.
Yeah, hit you in the eye.
No. You keep doing that.
There you go. Yeah, like that.
Oh,
that was very
anticlimactic. My God, he did break it. I called it, dude. I called that shit.
I'm so scared to go watch this, and I'm ready to fight.
We got a dud.
Bro, he's going to be using a jagged object to try to remove this thing. Oh, God.
You
there
mean
is...
what are those even called?
A corkscrew?
Is that a corkscrew?
Yeah, it's a wine opener.
That's a corkscrew.
Did it just pop a little bit?
I heard a
psst. Oh, hey, there it goes. There it goes.
Actually really
that was like a...
The whole box exploded.
It was like a little...
You just see like the rest, like technical difficulties.
Okay, so we all get about 1 1/4 pints of this with its largeness. So I don't know.
Largeness.
We'll let everybody pour their own.
What the hell am I smelling?
Raspberries?
That smells like
raspberries.
Maybe I should have helped you.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Wow, you have zero head at all. Or I mean, it's all head.
Pass this around.
Your entire.
All right, we're gonna work on this together. This is gonna be a teamwork exercise, okay? So
team building.
So Brad, why don't you go ahead and explain what type of beer this is?
Come over here, my friend.
Okay, so what we're drinking here is a raspberry farmhouse ale. This is from Prairie Brewing, which is an Oklahoma-based brewery. they've actually had this beer going around for a while now. Like I said, I remember seeing it in Bearded Monk when they first opened, which I think was back in like 2015. So they've been celebrating their 3rd anniversary for a while. We happened to see this in Total Wine here in Denton.
This is better. Yeah.
This bottle set us back $120 for this large bottle. Are you going to top me off?
Oh my god. So of Brad's full head pint, I guess, he got maybe half.
All right, that's good.
Ridiculous.
But yeah, I think I've had this beer before, not in this large of a format, but I think I've had like this beer by itself, and I recall it being good.
I mean, it sounds good.
Okay, here we go for right
So that's Mr. Joseph's.
Do you think you could drink this whole bottle?
No.
By yourself? Like in one go?
I don't.
Oh,
think
wait, hold on. Drink that water in there. Yeah. Well, no, okay, so I rinsed the glasses before we started, because in doing some research about, proper beer pouring, I found that you're supposed to rinse your beer glasses with cold water before you pour. So, the more you know.
Who else needs to be topped off?
Yeah, so that one's Bobby, so that one.
I was going to say, did you get a pint at all, Bobby?
I got the bottle, dude.
So, yeah. I don't know what else to say about this beer.
It's big.
Did you describe what type it was?
Yeah, it was a farmhouse ale with raspberries.
Has cool album artwork on it.
Yeah. Prairie has some pretty cool artwork and stuff. Is the bottle any lighter?
No. It needs to be topped.
Oh, you can explain like our new sheets.
Oh yeah. So at the very least, I am, and I believe all you guys should at some point try to attempt at least the very first level. Studying the beer judging certification program, and I think we should all get into this. And so what we have in front of ourselves today is the official score sheet for judging a beer competition. So this way we're actually going to be able to, write down our thoughts during the cast, and
Don't worry.
when we're already pretty blitzed at the end of the episode, we'll be able to actually recall what we drank.
I'm gonna have to go without.
Yes, you hear that?
And I guess one thing to
official.
note is that this is actually scored out of 50.
Yeah, so
So-
I think our rating system might change a little bit, or we'll just try to do some fancy
I
conversions.
think we should stick with this and just make it out of 50.
Okay,
yeah.
that's fine. Yeah, and for those of you at home, if you're looking to properly taste a beer and judge it for its character and dissect it for all of its different qualities, what you should be judging is its aroma. How does it smell? Its appearance. Is it pleasing to the eye? Talk about its flavor. What do you taste inside there? What yeah. What do you get?
If you only taste one thing, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, so expand your flavor vocabulary, the mouthfeel. As our judging sheet says, the body, carbonation, warmth, creaminess, astringency, and other palate sensations. Oh, did y'all spill?
No, it's just like the neck.
Oh, okay, I got you.
The stem of the neck of it gets kind of slippery.
And then we have a section for an overall impression.
All right.
So yeah, that's what we're gonna go through today. So has everybody gotten their pint?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So today our topic, what we're going to talk about, big kind of announcement this week. Nvidia just announced the new 2000 series graphics cards. GTX is dead.
And now they bring on the RTX.
Long live RTX.
Well, I mean, I think that's significant because, I guess with every time that they release a new series, they're going to a new architecture, right?
Yeah.
And I noticed it's new RAM, right? Isn't it like GDDR6 or something like that?
Is it? I didn't notice that.
I think that's what I saw in the specs, that it's actually if it's not a new number, it's at least like much faster and kind of different from the RAM we currently use.
Yeah, I know there was a significant change in CPU architecture, GPU architecture for these cards. What I was kind of surprised that I didn't see was there wasn't a significant bump in the amount of memory on these cards. Like
Yeah.
they probably increased like the throughput and all that kind of stuff, but it's still like 8 to 11 gigabyte cards.
Probably not enough though to they probably didn't boost up that throughput enough to actually justify an increase in the amount of memory. One of the weird things, with graphics cards memory is that it's kind of a weasel word, so to speak, whenever it comes to marketing. Yeah, that's right. I'm dropping the weasel word.
Shout out to Whiskey Hollow.
Yeah, for teaching us the weasel words. But, it's something where generally people won't need that because most people are not going to be playing on a 4K monitor. A lot of games are not necessarily optimized for 4K. Maybe 2K, I feel like, is one of those ones that I'm kind of seeing. But generally speaking, most of the population is still playing games at 1080p. So at that point, you don't need to load all that much into memory. So I mean, what's the reason for actually having a 16 gigabyte card? Because I mean, no matter what, 4K is only going to take. I mean, I don't know exactly how many gigs that actually is for 4K images, being loaded into memory. And
well, what I'm kind of thinking about with like the memory is like I don't know if it's so much even just like the textures that you're having to deal with anymore. Like yeah, that takes up a whole lot of memory, but what games are getting a whole lot more sophisticated in these days is the physics.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Right.
there's
okay, so like to give you guys perspective, it is GDR6, and even the 1080 Ti, its memory speed was only about 11 gigabits per second. Versus now with the GDDR6, you're getting 14 gigabits per second.
Crazy.
So, I mean, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you think of gigabits versus, I mean, yeah, it's a lot. Like, it is a significant jump.
so yeah, like they're going to be a whole lot faster, but I mean, yeah, kind of like what we were saying with like the memory. There's not like a huge jump there, but maybe we're starting to get to the point of like oversaturation with how much memory is available on these cards.
Maybe. I mean, I think definitely nowadays, at the very minimum, get a 4 gigabyte card.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't get anything less than that.
right.
Yeah, like because I've got a 1080 right now, which I think is an 8 gigabyte card, and before that I was running a 660 Ti, which had 2 gigabytes. So that's a significant increase.
Right.
I think what you're really going to be needing like the large memory amount for these days is VR, because you're like you've got like not just what's in front of you, but everything around you that that it's trying to process. Maybe not exactly rendering it, but you've got all the physics that it's trying to render. Not particles, but all that kind of stuff that's going on.
Well, I mean, even like, what is that called? Is it the memory buff? Like, I think all of them said they were at least 256-bit, which is what my card is, which you need that if you're going to do, like, high intensity, high quality gaming, because if you try to get... I think it was like the 1060s are like 192-bit or something like that. They'll run most things, but they're not going to be able to run it on the highest setting. So I
That
think
makes sense.
all the cards in the RTX were, 256-bit.
Right. Yeah, I'm actually looking at the chart right now. You're right. And even the GTX 1080 had a 256-bit.
Right.
But yeah, and then I think the highest version, the RTX 2080 Ti, has 352-bit with memory bus.
Yeah, see, and that's something that, like, I know I didn't personally look at till I was actually getting my newest card. And it's like you can get something that is technically slower core-wise, but if that's bigger, you can actually process so many more
You got more throughput.
images per second, so it really doesn't matter
Yeah.
with the actual core speed. But then I overclocked it, so...
So one of the big things that they were talking about with this RTX that it's supposed to really excel at is real-time ray tracing. It's one of the big marketing things that they were talking about, which I guess to try and give a really quick TLDR on that is whenever a game is rendering like lighting and reflections and stuff like that, what's happening is that wherever that light source is going to be, like a light bulb or the sun in the game or something like that, what the computer's doing is shooting a line from that to whatever the light would hit, and calculating how much reflection needs to bounce off of that, and like how bright that particular texture needs to be. Excuse me. So lighting is usually one of the most expensive things that you're doing in rendering, and your graphics card is having to handle. But these cards are supposed to really excel at that kind of math.
So is it that it's because essentially like the way it worked before was it kind of just from what I understand, I haven't done graphics in a while, but like it more or less kind of faked it, so it would be like bigger areas it might have reflected in such a way that wasn't natural, but it just looked good enough. Now is it like breaking it down to smaller and smaller, I guess, literally doing ray casting as opposed to maybe like an area that it's doing it in?
Yeah, so I think, part of it was like like you said, it wasn't current generations aren't fast enough to do it and what would be like as
natural as
as real as you can be, because like what you're doing, like when we have like animated movies or just a rendered image, what they can do is they can do like thousands of passes on that image or frame, so that they can get like as close to that as we can. But when you're talking about a game, you have a split second to to render that frame. So current generations was doing just kind of a good enough sort of thing. But with this, it's going to have it's going to be a lot quicker and a lot faster to be able to do that in a much more realistic way.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So here's something that we can talk about real quick. Tyler Wade Hens is asking, how much should I spend on a starter gaming PC?
The standard, I feel like, that I've always heard at least, is like about $1,000.
I mean,
on a starter,
you can get away for 800.
You can get away, but yeah, if you want a little bit more.
So if you're talking about a starter, and like if budget's your big concern, there are a lot of ways that you can kind of cut corners. And like what I've kind of seen on like some of the build a PC, like subreddits and forums and stuff like that, is that the lower threshold tends to be, if you really try, you can get something for $600. It's not going to be really fancy.
I mean, I was able to do for $600, and I survived for a long time off of that.
But what year was that?
You can actually do it. Yeah.
I mean, that was when you and Zach were living together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so here's the problem: when Zach and I were living together, that was before the crypto boom.
I guess that's
so
true.
GPU prices have skyrocketed, so that's going to really like kind of make it hard for you.
I would almost argue for your first build, you shouldn't get the latest and greatest graphics card.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
Yeah, I mean, they did say starter.
If
you ask me, I would rather get something that is not future proof, because that's just a stupid concept in general, because the second you buy it, it's already out of date, in my opinion. Like, I would just scrape something together that works at least higher, very high quality, and then once you actually can work and save up for that good graphics card, just slap that in and you're good to go. I mean, it's kind of weird right now because newer motherboards are moving to DDR4 RAM, and now we're getting these new graphics cards.
5, I believe.
No, it's
4 is what's current.
You said GDDR6 for the
graphics cards.
Yes, we're on 6.
Oh, you're talking about just regular DDR.
For your PC.
Like, honestly, I would suggest don't even get a motherboard that has 4. Get one that still has 3.
Well, I think even like right now, GDDR4 is starting to become pretty commonplace.
Well, I mean, but the problem is the price per stick of RAM is still
expensive.
super expensive.
Yeah, so if you can,
that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're gonna do your first build, I mean, you can go balls to the walls, but I mean, I piecemealed it together and got it for pretty cheap. And even now, like, I'm playing fucking what is that? PUBG on the highest graphics settings, 60 frames a second at 2K. So it's like, not but that's been like a slow buildup of getting newer and newer pieces. I mean, the main trouble, in my opinion, comes when you have to get a new motherboard. So then you essentially have to redesign how it's going to fit into your case.
And I mean, also you can play the whole like waiting for sales and like Cyber Monday deals and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and get a good deal on some parts here and there, or you can play at all kinds of games with discounts and stuff.
I mean, and then utilize PCPartPicker.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's definitely there's all kinds of ways to make it a lot cheaper to build. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking to get something that's not crazy, but kind of just very entry level starter. You're definitely looking at,
I think 800's right.
$700-800.
Yeah.
I'd say like $3. No, definitely 700.
Well, I mean, would you guys nowadays still suggest Intel, or would you say, as far as a processor, would you say Intel or AMD?
No, because what's it called? It's gotten to the point now to where they're not doing as much brand sponsored stuff. Back in the day, you used to see games whenever they booted up, it would show made for Nvidia or designed with ATI Radeon in mind. Back in the way old days.
Like if you would buy a game, I think it was like Metro 2033 or like Last Light, where like
they do Nvidia. Yeah, if you were
to
the Metro
buy this graphics card, it's like you'd get this game for free. And I don't really do that too much anymore, so I agree with that. But
I'm saying as far as processors are concerned, because now Intel's doing their hexa-core processors, but you could have, for years, I have an 8-core AMD processor, and it was only like $150 versus like, I think those hexa-cores are what, like 300 or 250.
Right, but multi-threading wasn't overly popular with developers until more recently, where it's become kind of commonplace to have multi-threaded applications. So therefore, more cores didn't mean better; it actually meant a little bit worse because the applications weren't utilizing multi-core. But now that are multi-threading, now you can have that because you have multi-threading, you have multi-core, multi-process support, kind of deal. So games can be optimized to run on both systems because everybody is already performing at multi-threaded capacity, I guess, to speak. It's kind of similar to like, the reason why people used to do Nvidia versus AMD is because Nvidia was known for their CUDA cores, which is, I guess, just their way of like having little the transistors on the chipset, I believe is like what that's supposed to be.
I don't know.
Yeah, kind of.
They just had a slightly different architecture, but I think as time's gone on, architecture on all platforms is starting to merge. We used to have a day whenever consoles ran on a completely architecture, but now they all use the exact same. PS4 and Xbox use the exact same Jaguar chip, which was an APU upon release. It's becoming the same for basically everything. Everything's going to go to that same architecture that you see, I feel like, on a cell phone. Granted, it's going to be a slow process, especially for PCs, but everything's kind of going towards the revolutionary APU, where everything is on the same chip. It's all on the same general architecture for compatibility reasons. It's just the way times are moving now. It makes things easier for developers, makes things easier for hardware manufacturers, things like that.
But for like, building a PC. Like, I think the Intel AMD debate isn't really such a big deal anymore.
I'd say go AMD.
Yeah,
just because it saves you money.
It does save you money.
It really does.
And I've never.
That's why I would recommend it.
Like the only compatibility differences there really is that your motherboard, because all the other pieces are compatible on both sides. Because when you're talking about gaming, multi-core on your CPU doesn't matter that much, because most games are, for CPU dependent calculations, are pretty single threaded. But I
have run into games that when I had an Intel Duo core, that was like 3 gigahertz or something like that, it wouldn't run some games because they required a third thread or core, either one.
Interesting. Maybe that's changing, but classically, the CPU dependent math was just like, mainly single, maybe dual core. But what matters is like, the multi-processing that you can do on your graphics card.
Yeah, and now I think the engines have become so robust. Unreal, Unity, is it Crytek?
Crytek, yeah.
Yeah, Crytek's engine. They've become so robust that they can basically make their way through whatever hardware that you have in there, as long as it puts out enough horsepower.
And it's honestly like, I never viewed it as one solid purchase. It was always build up to what you want, and then just realize you're going to always constantly be building because, stuff gets out of date. And like, it's like for the longest time I had a 1080p monitor, and then I just so happened to get lucky at work. They were getting rid of a 2K monitor, and I took it.
Nice.
And so now I have a 2K monitor, but I lucked out on that one. But at some point, I'm probably going to have to buy dual 4K monitors, and that's going to be another like $500 down the drain.
Yeah, even though 4K is starting to come pretty standard on like consoles and stuff, I think PCs are going to have a little bit of like catch up because only 4K monitors are only really starting to hit the market and they're really like expensive. And what it is like the input latency that goes into those monitors, because with the PC monitor you need to have really super low latency, and they're just not there yet for monitors.
Well, no, monitors I thought typically always had much better refresh rates than.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
TV.
So your latency is really low.
Right.
Yeah. So to get the low latency on a 4K monitor.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
is more difficult.
Okay. Well, because it's so goddamn big.
Yeah. there's so many pixels that you're trying to shove into it.
Right.
Okay, so let's move on a little bit from our dry tech talk. I know we had, before we got into politics, I know we had one other topic that we wanted to discuss.
On the subject of video games?
Was it?
Yeah, it was like, I guess.
Oh!
We were talking about like how.
Dark Souls Trilogy.
Yeah, and like how they keep pushing back the Switch release.
Yeah, well, I mean,
like
it supposedly has a solid release date now, but
Oh.
on that same date
They're releasing the Trilogy, which is.
for every other console.
Yeah, every other console.
Includes the HD remake.
That's-
Or, remaster, whatever it was called.
That just makes me mad because it's like. Alright, so for me, I'm a longtime Dark Souls fan. I've been playing the game since Demon Souls, and that's how my first entry into the Souls game. Or Souls series, I should say. Like, I beat everyone except for Demon Souls. I never beat Demon Souls because that game was just stupid. But I don't know. It's like for them to release how much was the Dark Souls Remastered Edition?
It's $40, I believe.
Okay.
Right?
For Switch, yeah, it's
$40
at
on
least.
Switch, and then it's going to be $60 for the collection for PS4 and Xbox.
And
One.
that to me just sits wrong with me because just on it. I mean, you're saving money, sure. You're still having to spend money.
You're
on
saying
people.
it's wrong with you, the pricing of the Switch version?
Oh no, just like the collection.
Of the collection,
The
which
trilogy.
includes all 3 games and DLCs.
That's just like kind of for me. It feels like kind of a cash grab, and I say that mainly because while Dark Souls 3 was and is a really good game, and I mean all the games like have their own like different place in my heart. Like Dark Souls 2, I forgot which edition that was because I actually have it. I actually bought it. I think it was like. Is it Scholar of the First Sin edition?
Yes, Scholar
Yeah.
of the First Sin.
Okay, so when that came out, I have it. I still have the original box art for that. I bought it. It was like $70 or $80 for the 360, and that was one of the only Dark Souls games that was the first Dark Souls game that I actually went through and fully completed and got all the achievements for. It took me forever, and I was like, cool. I'm gonna go back and do this for the first and third game, and I haven't done that yet because it's a long game. But for me, I will honestly say that. For them to kind of like put the price tag for $10 a piece on each one is kind of weird. I mean, I appreciate it, but at the same time, I don't, just because it kind of feels like cash grabbing now, and it kind of didn't want to seem. I didn't want to see From Software ever like kind of be like, hey, here's the trilogy for it, and now you can play all the games again that are already been remastered and already been released separately, all at once for $60. But it's like if you were to go out and buy the game individually right now, you'd probably. I mean, honestly, you probably would spend about the same amount.
Yeah, I think you
think
would.
about it, but it's just like, for me, it's like, if you haven't played Dark Souls 2 yet,
Don't.
yeah, don't. It's not.
I didn't like Dark Souls 2, I'll be
And-
honest.
I played the first 30 minutes.
Okay, so and the reason why people hate on Dark Souls 2 is because it's not directed by the same. I forget his
Shigeru
name. His last name starts with the M.
Miyamoto?
Mazas.
No, not
Mazas-
Miyamoto.
Mazas, I don't know, but that's one reason people don't like the second game. The second game introduced what's called soul memory, which is in Dark Souls 1. It was pretty much like if someone was around your level, you could summon them if they could be further in their game. They can be further in the game and they can summon you, but you couldn't summon them. So you had to be with the same distance in the game and around the same level, and that's how it worked. It was pretty easy to follow. Dark Souls 2 introduced something called soul memory, where there's different tiers where the number of souls you get determines your soul memory. Okay, so
it's Hideki Mizuki.
yeah, Mizuki, that's right. So that wasn't good because let's say soul memory is just a number of souls you get over time, regardless if you lose them or not. So let's say you get stuck in an area for a month or something, and you're just sitting there and you're farming these souls. And in this one area, you accumulated 100,000 souls. and someone's playing the same amount of time as you, but they haven't really killed anything, and then the same exact part in the same exact like level as you, that doesn't mean you can necessarily play with them, right? So what some people will do, and there's actually ways you can stop it with like different items in the game. So people who are like veterans of the game know exactly what to go get, exactly what to hold on to. They can get a ring that stops you from eating. It just eats up all your souls, so you stop accumulating them. It'll do that, but they'll be like a veteran level player and go play PvP and then just destroy you. And like, so you'd be like, oh cool, like I'm level like 100, I'm level like 60 something, and this guy's like level 40, but because he like capped his soul memory in the game and knows how to play the game perfectly, he's like, all right, like all my things are set to soft build, I can just come up and just destroy you. And you're like, why is this level 40 beating me? And it was just like the PvP experience was better but worse. So it's just like them trying to bring back the whole trilogy just seems kind of cash grabby to me. Like Dark Souls 2, I don't think is worth $10. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
They're definitely not the first developer to you know beat the crap out of a dead horse. I mean, how many platforms is Skyrim on now?
Oh God, you're right. And it's like that's kind of
just quit buying it and they'll quit releasing it.
That's kind of
yeah, I would if I could, Scott.
that's kind of my the broader argument here too. Is just like I'm ready for all the new games to come out for sure. I'm just kind of tired of seeing a bunch of the games being rehashed and like re-released. Like because now we have better technology, and we all knew that was going to happen. Because I mean,
it's kind of like how movies for a long time, like a couple years ago, were just like all reboots and remakes.
And for me, it's like I want to see ingenuity. I want to see these new concepts come out. I want to see. I think it's honestly because of Ludum Dare. Like after like competing in that, I'm like, dude, look at all the crazy ideas you can get just out of this one concept alone. And
physics-based dating simulator.
Yeah, like what? So it's like whenever you see a game that's rehashed, and like I know there's people out there like, no, they totally need to remake this game, and I'm okay with that. But when they do it like 5 or 6 times, like I guess a good example besides Dark Souls would be Darksiders. They re-released like the War-bound edition or like the Death's. What was it?
What? Well, so there was Definitive Edition and War Masters Edition.
Yeah, Definitive Edition, because you play as Death in the second one. I'm like, cool. This game was already out. Like, stop releasing it.
Apparently, Death and War are going to make an appearance in Darksiders 3.
I mean, that makes sense for the story, but can
they make an appearance in Smash Bros?
Dude, they better not.
No.
Actually, I know.
Dude, motherfucking Smash Brothers Ultimate. Fucking getting Castlevania characters. Like, how crazy. You didn't hear about that? Or maybe you're on vacation. Well, anyways, they did a direct. And Richter Belmont is going to be in it. Oh, yeah. So Luigi's dead right now. Like,
so is Luigi not going to be in?
Well, no, the Reaper killed Luigi.
So
he walked into Dracula's castle, and usually you find the Reaper, and the Reaper steals all your powers. Well, instead he just straight up killed Luigi.
So does that mean for Smash Bros. Ultimate, either Luigi's not there, or Luigi is just a ghost?
He's straight up just dead.
Hey, you know who's also not?
Why did they kill him?
So you choose Luigi, and you just flop onto the platform.
Funny. Nintendo had to release a statement saying that Luigi's still alive.
Yeah.
Wow.
People are freaking out about it so
but
much.
they didn't release a statement when they like stabbed like Mario through the chest.
The goddamn chest from Ridley.
That's fine. No, like, see, like games like that, like Smash Bros. That has like a long like lineage. That's fine because they're building up upon it. But like, I think a while ago, I think I have the video on my phone actually. Yeah, I do. It's back when you and I used to live together with Skylar. No, it was us three. We lived with each other. So, not Skylar. I'm sorry, let's think something else. But they were saying that Dark Souls 3 was probably the last Souls game, and I was like, no.
Well, I mean, it is because they're moving on to Shadows Die Twice, which everything we've seen from that, it's
Bloodborne meets Dark Souls.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but like even in like the trailer, it literally says you will not die so easily. Yeah. So like when you die, you get back up. And that's one thing.
Different concept.
I don't know how that game's gonna work out. I'm gonna play it. It looks good, but like at the time, I was like, man, Dark Souls 3 is gonna last. Dark Souls was like, no, because that's when Bloodborne was first out. Dark Souls 3 wasn't even out yet.
Yeah,
and I was super excited for it to be released because it was a new iteration. But when they keep re-releasing these games that are coming out, or just a re-release and they just tack on the DLC, it's like people who have already played the game probably already have the DLC for it, and if they don't, then what the hell are you doing? Like, they'll just buy the DLC. If you bought Dark Souls 3 without the DLC, like, you made a mistake. You bought Dark Souls 2 you made a mistake. You bought Dark Souls 2 with the DLC, you made an even bigger mistake. That DLC was just horrible. I will honestly say like that was it was way too hard for what you were given. Like compared to Dark Souls 1, I still haven't beat the DLC for that because I'm in a New Game Plus 3 and I played the DLC with it, and that's a horrible decision. But I don't know, I'm just tired of seeing all these remakes coming out, I guess is what I'm getting at. And if you haven't played Dark Souls, by all means, go play it. I'm not mad at Dark Souls for doing. I mean, I guess I'm kind of mad at it, but
Bobby, all you've been doing is bitching about Dark Souls.
fuck Dark Souls. Man. I really
I mean, it's to go without say though. You played and beaten every single Dark Souls and all of its DLC, so it's you're obviously a glutton for punishment. But like,
so I mean, you know how I know that Bobby's a really big fan of Dark Souls? How much he hates Dark Souls.
hate Dark Souls. You know what you did to me?
You're just like a Star Wars fan.
Yeah. So, if you haven't played the games, I guess what I'm saying is when they release this trilogy, when they're going to release it, it's hitting a very, very, very small, market, because I don't know why the hell you would even just go out and buy.
Oh shit! I have an Xbox One.
Yeah, you do.
I have a reason to buy it.
Yeah.
So you're going to give up on it on
Do
Switch?
it.
Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying. For someone who like you who's waiting for it to come out on Switch, and now that the trilogy is coming out, you can have all 3 games with all DLC.
Yeah,
for
I do feel like a bit shafted though.
Yeah, see what I'm saying. It's
like if I only had the Switch, because I just now remembered that I have an Xbox. If I only had the Switch, and because I was sitting there, I was like, okay, I've been waiting for Dark Souls since it was supposed to come out back in
June.
Yeah, and then they're like, "Oh, it's not coming out till late summer." Well, late summer is now, and it's not coming out till October. And then they just announced that, "Oh, hey, at the very same day that the Switch guys are finally getting Dark Souls, everybody else can get all 3 for like a really decent price."
And that's what I'm saying. It's like,
well, I'll tell you one thing, Brad. It only ran 30 frames a second on Switch.
See, I don't care about that.
It's going to run 60 FPS. Well, okay. He's never
been to
Blighttown. So
Blighttown.
you want it to run at 60 FPS.
I mean, is that kind of like?
And that's what it's going to run.
Is that like Fair on Woods and Breath of the Wild, like pre-update and then post-update?
Yeah, where it's all shattery and shit.
Yeah, really choppy.
Dark Souls 1.
See, I know that. I know about that.
Dark Souls 1. Whenever you first played it, and this is when it first came out on the 360 and the PS3. If you got to Blighttown, whenever you would first walk into it, it was fine. But whenever you got to the first opening, I think your frame rate would just drop.
It would drop to like
10.
Yeah.
So without being all spoily, is that because like a bunch of like lighting stuff, or just like a bunch of like physics objects?
I think it's trying to render it's both trying to do both a lot of like physics objects, a lot of enemies that you can't see because of lighting, and then like the draw distance of it. It's a really it opens up into a way bigger area, but it's like it has to keep track of all these things at once,
right?
Plus the physics, plus the enemies, and the game's just like, oh god, what's happening? And it doesn't get better until like you get to like the bottom part of it.
See, like in Breath of the Wild with like Fair on Woods, it was like, it's the Lost Woods. What am I fucking saying?
Of the woods.
It was the Lost Woods.
Tree Town.
You've got all these trees going on, and they got physics with the trees, and there's like fireflies and water and just everything.
There's like trees in Breath of the Wild.
And you can climb them.
Yeah, you couldn't do that in Ocarina of Time.
Couldn't do that in any fucking game.
Best game ever.
Can't do that in Dark Souls. But you know what's funny? In Demon Souls, if there's a chest high ledge and you run towards it, you'll climb up on it. But not every other Dark Souls game. Fucking Dark Souls. So what I'm saying is like cases like me, who's someone who's already beaten it. There's not a use for me to buy the game. I feel like they just kind of threw it out for like, let's get everyone who hasn't played it yet. Like this is their chance to get it. And it's like at this point, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just wait for I mean, Neo already came out, even though like I guess we didn't really beat Neo, but if you just wait for Shadows Die Twice or something, at this point, I mean, if you haven't beaten it, like played any of the Dark Souls or beaten any of them, then sure, go buy it. But if you have, then why would you get it again? So it's just like, if you had Bloodborne, I don't see the point of you picking up Dark Souls 2 or 1, to be honest. Like, they're good games, sure, but I think you're going to have more fun of a time playing through Bloodborne multiple times with the DLC than you are with Dark Souls 1 and 2.
So, Bobby, what I'm hearing from this is that you're mad about this because you don't need it.
Pretty much, yeah. That's what I'm getting at. But overall, it's kind of I'm kind of tired of seeing all these re-releases come out. Like the whole Spyro thing, like we were talking about this earlier, like
Spyro is different.
It's different,
Well,
but
it's a little bit different.
it's like you've played it as a kid.
I didn't play it as a kid.
I
I'm
didn't.
gonna buy it.
yeah.
Man, fuck you, Scott.
I had the first PlayStation console I got was a PS2.
The first PlayStation console I got was a PS4.
Damn. First PlayStation console I got. Damn, have I had every single console that's ever come out?
What?
Did you have a
See-
Neo Geo?
See, in my family, we were hardcore Nintendo until the Xbox 360.
You lived in Korea.
That was
Fair.
like the first. That was the first other console that we ever had. Everything else was, NES, N64, GameCube, Wii.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Go
I don't know. I guess I'm just tired of just the remakes.
You're just
coming out.
tired, man.
Yeah, I just want good games to come out. Like, just
Do you
stop making all these
consider
remakes.
That's fair.
Spider-Man a remake? The new Spider-Man game coming out.
No, I don't.
No, I don't, because it's like there have been a lot of other Spider-Man games, but
Spider-Man.
they are technically. This one's kind of different because there's some characters that have already been in it, but it's mostly like a reboot. I'm kind of gonna go ahead and say, but
So much rebooting of Spider-Man
yeah, and then again
everywhere.
But with Dark Souls, at least, it's like these games have been out for a long time, and it's at this point. I guess this product is only for people who I just don't see the logic in it. It's just like there's like this much people left who haven't. If you haven't played all the games, that's who it's targeting.
Oh,
And I'm
Bobby,
like,
one of those people is sitting at this table. So
Actually, two.
one out of five.
actually,
So
two people.
shut up.
Well, I'm saying it's good for you guys. You guys get to play it. But for someone else, like, what the hell are you guys doing from software?
What have you done for me lately from software? That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that's what I'm saying. I guess I'm
What
being
have you
kinda,
done for Bobby?
I guess I am being kind of selfish and hateful about
What
how
have,
I
what
think
have you
about
done for Bobby?
it. Where's
Well-
my new game?
Dark Souls is one of
You
your
made
favorite
Bobby a new Dark
games.
Souls
Yeah,
game.
Yeah, I know,
It's
like-
one of my serious as much as I'm bitching about it now. It is still one of my
Okay,
favorite
Bobby.
series.
So From Software has just announced Dark Souls 1 VR.
Won't play it.
Won't play it?
Hands down, won't play it.
Okay, Dark Souls 2 VR.
Hell no.
Dark Souls 3 VR.
What about VR?
How much is
VR?
it?
How much?
Yeah.
It's released at new retail price,
like
$60.
What kind of VR is? What the fuck?
It's on the HTC Vive, so you get room scale. You can roll yourself.
All right, if I can get an immersive experience like that, then yeah. But that's the thing. It's different. Then it's actually adding something new. It's a new feature. But
I mean, that's what they like. I think that's the latest port for Skyrim was literally
you can
just,
roll.
No.
I mean, it's VR, so I mean, it's room scale VR with the Vive. So I haven't played it yet. It's one of the ones I do want to get because apparently it's like the best VR experience ever.
Really?
I could see somebody asphyxiating themselves with the VR, rolling VR.
Well, I mean, the Vive has it pretty well handled because like your headphones are connected in the back somewhere and it comes like behind your neck.
Well, what you got to get is the TPCast. The TPCast makes it so much easier, from what I've heard.
What's that?
It's a wireless receiver for the HTC Vive. It's Chinese built. It's kind of the alternative for the new.
They've also got a first party one.
Wasn't that one coming out when we had all the batteries exploding in the Samsung phones?
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. I've
But-
got a. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say we've got a coworker who actually has the TPCast and he swears by it. And I believe it's like $150 something too. So it's not something that you just like. Oh wow, this is I know.
Well,
It's-
no. I'm sorry. The second pour of that was like it hit me with like
With Dark Souls.
CO2 or
that.
something.
Maybe we should have shooken the bottle up to make sure everything was
I
well
don't know what
mixed.
happened. I got hit by something when I took that first
You got
sip of
hit
the
by
second pour.
you got hit by the realization that you probably
Speaking of
not
which,
gonna get Dark
does anybody
Souls.
need seconds?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Here, I'll go ahead and I'll start pouring some stuff.
You got hit by the realization that you probably won't get Dark Souls on the Switch because you won't need to. Oh, thank you.
So what's our next topic?
Next topic is Dark Souls.
More Dark Souls.
We're remaking the topic on Dark
So,
Souls.
No, bottom
We're
line is.
remaking the presidency.
Bottom line is, I know I'm kind of bitching for no reason. People are like, "What the hell are you talking about? Dude, Dark Souls is
You
great."
want some help?
Yeah, I get that. It's just I'm just tired of seeing remakes. Like I thought, I didn't want Dark Souls to let me down and be like, "This is not necessarily a remake. This is a re-release with all the DLC." And it's like you get
Just stop.
just kind of let me down a little bit. Like it's not that big of a deal, but I am making it a bigger deal than it is.
Yeah, you are
But
making it.
I really am. And I know I'm being kind of a bitch right now, but whatever.
Well, if we're ready to move into our really hairy topic of the evening, I guess.
Yeah. So fucking Trump played Dark Souls yesterday.
You played Dark Souls 2.
He played Dark Souls 2 online.
Yeah, so I mean, if you've been keeping up with the news, yesterday, which
You've been seeing some shit.
rather than a Thursday, yesterday was a Tuesday.
A terrible Tuesday.
Yeah, that was some pretty crazy stuff. So, as a TLDR recap, Manafort,
Who's Manafort?
that is Trump's campaign manager for the 2016 election, has been found guilty of 8 counts.
8 out of 8.
8 out of 18. 10,
yeah.
10 were declared a mistrial because the jury couldn't come to a conclusion.
Yeah.
But
because they were scared as
But
fuck.
that does mean that those 10 counts can be retried because there's a mistrial. So rather than like him being let off those, that's something. And he
Right.
also has another trial coming up either later this month or next month about some other charges. I don't know what they are exactly. But yeah, so he's not done yet. But of the 8 counts that he was found guilty for, he has a maximum sentence of 200 some odd years.
Jesus.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like if they just stopped there, he's already and he's 60 something years
you
old.
know he won't get 200.
So
He won't get 200.
yeah.
He'll probably get like 5.
Fuck that.
I mean,
To be honest,
we'll see what happens there.
Or Trump pardons him.
Yeah,
Nah.
so yeah, it's,
Better not.
do we
Better
wanna
not.
move
well, weren't some of them state charged? I don't know. I don't want to say things that I don't know for sure. Okay, so that happened. Then Michael Cohen, who is
Ex-lawyer.
Trump's former lawyer, yes,
Right.
Who was the one that paid hush money to Stormy Daniels, the porn star. This is the thing that's probably going to bring him down, is a porn star.
It's hilarious.
Pled guilty to charges of
There's also 8 counts.
campaign finance stuff.
Yeah, illegally financing a campaign.
Yeah, and he basically he testified under oath in
Yeah.
the courtroom that I did it under the direction. What he said was the direction of a candidate running for a federal office, which he can't name names at that point in the process. But I mean, everybody knew it was Trump. And then his lawyer, the lawyer's lawyer,
Right.
came out and
Holy
said
shit.
word for word,
What
it
if-
was Trump that directed him.
What
to
if
do
what
it.
if what if
His
he-
lawyer's
what
all the way down.
What if it was actually just Mike Pence?
Oh, God.
This is all Mike
Like
Pence.
I mean,
Trump
man-
knew about it. He knew
Okay, so
about it, right?
you know something like Mike Pence's face doesn't look exactly real. So what I'm expecting is someday at the end of all this, Mike Pence is going to remove his mask
Guys.
and it's going to be Putin underneath.
No, guys. See,
I still think
God.
he's the guy from Johnny Quest.
Damn it. It does look exactly like that.
That's
Oh my
great,
God.
Zach.
no, it's like clean the swamp. It's actually just going to be Shrek. It's a copy of Shrek 6.
he pulls off his face. And his-
I mean, no, Trump did say he wanted to drain the swamp, so this is a very
What
weird way
are
to
you
do it.
doing?
But
But yeah, so a lot of things have happened
Oh,
at the
man.
very beginning of this week. It was the second one hits you, doesn't it?
It's hard.
Yeah, it's weird.
Punch me in my tongue.
It has like once you open the bottle, it something happens in there.
something unholy.
Yeah, I might have to revise a little bit of my score.
So
I think my score is still accurate.
all this came in light. What was it, Tuesday?
Yesterday.
And, what was it? Trump didn't say anything about it
Till
at
today.
all till today.
He said a lot of stuff
Well,
today.
he did kind of say a little bit about it yesterday. So right before his rally yesterday,
He had a-
he had a rally.
He did have a
yesterday,
rally.
which was poor timing, but how could he know? But when he was getting off Air Force One, there's always where the press asks, can you ask him some questions? And he said, "Oh, all the things that have happened today have nothing to do with me."
I mean, no.
He called
Stop.
Manafort a good man, and that was
He
because Manafort hadn't accepted any kind of deal or anything like that, whereas Cohen had gone through and
He's full on flipped.
Yeah, he's
Hey, man.
full on flipped.
I gotta get the hell out of here, man. He's got a crazy.
But the thing that was interesting was that he didn't even respond to any questions about Cohen. Cohen, and that was kind of the goofy part
Yeah,
about all of
Sarah
it.
Huckabee Sanders for their press conference today.
Yeah, so he made some tweets today that were just kind of the whole denying line of sort of thing. I don't have anything in front of me that I can look them up right now. But I know he was saying he was trying to downplay the whole Manafort conviction because he's like, oh, there was 10 counts that they couldn't even decide on. Not talking about that the fact that he was found guilty on 8 counts.
Yeah, let's just ignore those 8 counts. Those don't count.
Man, this has just been a crazy year. This is like a really bad. You're watching like a really, really crazy show on TV.
Like it's like the House of Cards, but way better.
But way better. Jeez.
Because the House of Cards can't even keep up anymore, especially after all the Kevin Spacey stuff.
Yeah, right.
Did you guys hear about the Kevin Spacey movie that came out last weekend?
No.
It had a box office of like $200.
Wow.
I didn't even know that he was coming out with
I
a
didn't know there
movie.
was a movie coming out.
Yeah, it was called like what was it?
Kevin Spacey's not in this Kevin Spacey movie?
It was like
Hopefully-
rich, it was like he's like rich, or it was like famous young boys or something. Like, it was a really weird name.
Oh yeah,
That's
actually,
really
That's a really
unfortunate.
bad. Yeah, that's a really
That's
bad.
a
title.
really unfortunate name for a movie starring Kevin Spacey.
What the hell?
Oh shit, we had an audio drop. Damn it.
No.
My computer went to sleep and just like stopped recording.
actually,
That's a really bad. Yeah, that's a really bad title.
unfortunate name.
Wow, that's my voice. That sounds horrible.
That's weird. Like my voice just like faded out.
Yeah, it went
Perfectly
away.
faded.
Okay, anyway.
Oh, it was called Billionaire Boys Club.
Okay, that's better.
But still,
That's better than whatever it was you said a second ago.
I know it was something like really weird, but yeah, the movie only had like a few $100s in box office.
What was the
Dang.
What was the budget? Hopefully like 50.
A lot more than that. I mean, I can get you more facts in a bit, so just hang on.
Facts.
One thing too was whenever he, what is it? I thought it was crazy that at the rally that they had after all this came out,
They were all chanting
they
"Lock
were
her
all
up,
still chanting
lock her up,"
and all
like
sort of stuff, and it's like, dude,
like
this-
Hillary's still the evil boogeyman.
God, it doesn't
Okay,
make any
okay.
sense.
You
I don't
guys
know.
ready for this?
Yeah.
So it had a budget of $15 million, and its domestic opening weekend box office took in $618.
Damn.
they tanked, dude.
Damn.
They basically just like made a movie like, here you go, you can have this one. We don't want it. That's like,
Well, I think
they gave it away at a garage sale. That's basically what they did.
it
Wow.
was. I think because it was being made before all the
Allegations.
allegations.
Alligator.
And then he came up and being like, "I'm secretly a gay man."
I mean, you can kind of look at him and
the
tell.
film wrapped in 2016.
Man, so much crap has happened that I don't even remember
2016.
when it was.
Has the world even been real since 2016?
So
No.
yeah, so the filming wrapped in 2016, but keep in mind that's like it still takes a while to actually
post and all that.
post
kind
and
of
all
stuff.
that. Yeah, and then the allegations happened in like October of 2017.
I'm
so,
surprised they even went forward with the movie.
Yeah,
I
honestly.
mean, sometimes you just kind of have to do it.
Yeah, that is kind of weird that they did that. Like, yeah, we'll keep going.
Anyway,
It has a 10% on Rotten Tomato.
so
So what does this mean for Trump? Are these impeachable offenses?
in a
Well,
in a
we
normal
gotta wait to
in
see
a-
what Cohen's gonna
well,
do.
okay. So here's the thing: is like in a normal Congress, what we know now is already impeachable because
Yeah.
like by definition, he is.
That's true.
He's what's the word I'm looking for? Complacent.
implicit.
complicit.
Sure,
Implicit.
that sounds correct. Like
Implicated?
basically, like
Implicated?
Sure, yeah, that's probably even better.
Douchebag?
Like basically from what's happened, like he's
committed a crime.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Basically.
he's not been indicted. He's not been like charged or anything like that. But like in a normal Congress, that's enough to like probably start impeachment hearings and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is that we have such an obstructionist Republican-led
They're not gonna
Congress
do
right now.
anything.
Yeah, they're not going to do
Not
anything.
They will never do anything.
In fact, I was reading something on Reddit today. I forget what exactly it said, but like the official party line is like nothing's been proven. Like we can't even know for sure that Cohen, like what Cohen said, is true.
That was the resounding message that Sarah Huckabee Sanders kept putting out at the press conference. Was, of course, she came forward and she talked about like they brought up the whole thing where that God rest her soul, that one girl got murdered by an illegal immigrant or whatever. And then there was a couple other things that they were talking about. And then she said 3 things that had nothing to do. Like, it's like she wasn't even planning on addressing
You can't.
the whole thing. And then everyone in the room, of course, came to the press conference because they wanted to hear like, okay, so what the hell's going on with, with Cohen? Like, and she's like, oh yeah, like President Trump said he didn't do it, and there's no charge being pressed, so don't talk about it. Like, I don't have anything to say about it. And everyone that she went to was talking about it, and she's like I said, there's no charges against him. He hasn't been found guilty of anything. There was no law being broken. Next person. I was like, dude, just deflecting.
You can't really talk about it. So here's the problem. So the entire case is being kind of handled at this current period of time. The current rulings and stuff have been getting handled by the the upper state of New York district attorney's office, which is one of the most or Supreme Court office or whatever. It's one of the most powerful courts actually in the United States. And the problem is that the prosecutor's office will probably not go through and try to put a case against a standing president because of the amount of the shitstorm that it would cause. It doesn't matter if it's Trump or not. Putting something like that against an active standing president could cause a lot of discourse. And and just kind of it makes a shitstorm for the entire country, and you don't want to have that happening and kind of weakening the country at that point to foreign adversaries. But the thing is that it's completely possible that you can implicate the president at this point because of the relations that are being drawn with this. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do it. They'll find a more roundabout way to handle it. And really, if they wanted to go through and actually press charges against him, you'd need to get him out of office first. And that's what I think that you were trying to get out of, Brad, whenever you were talking about the Reddit post. And that's completely logical. That has been actually a statement that's been said by that court, that specific court there in New York. In the past, those prosecutors don't want to sit there. And even though it's the right thing to do, what's the wrong thing to do is to endanger the entire country's well-being for one specific case, even if it means multiple charges against a person who's done some very bad things. Doesn't matter what the situation may be, if it was the Nixon situation or something else.
And I forgot who asked me this question. I think it was someone of our buddies from work. They asked what our overall
GDP.
No, not GDP. Not the GDP. Not the GDP. Oh God, it was what's our overall outlook on our future for the country. Just in general, is it optimistic or is it pessimistic? And I kind of had to think about that for a while, and I said generally, yeah. I guess anyone in their shoes, if you weren't a Trump supporter, you would absolutely say it is overall pessimistic, and not because just because there's I guess if you're against Trump, you would say that there's a fear of him getting reelected in 2020. But what I said was, it is mixed, both optimistic and pessimistic. Yeah, anything can happen, as we've been shown in the last 2 years. Anything can happen. But at the same time, honestly, it is kind of weird to say this. It's like what I've seen so far from this whole campaign, the whole presidency so far, the whole what our administration, what it's shown us is that if you have enough political backing and you come from a good place where you have money or whatever, it doesn't matter what happens to you. It doesn't matter what you say. You can get away with a lot if you have enough political backing. And just like you were saying, it doesn't
it's
necessarily.
It's a phrase that's older than anything.
Yeah.
Money talks and shit walks.
Yeah, it's just and it's it's one thing to some people have seen that firsthand before, but for the entire country to see it and then not have anything happen at all, where everyone's just kind of upset. We have people divided every day more and more over the media. Even when this stuff was being reported, Fox News reported on that woman who was unfortunately murdered by the
Molly. I can't remember her last name, but yeah,
she. It's and people are pointing fingers oh, look at Fox, and everyone kind of looks at politics as a football team, and it's not. This is your country that's being affected. This is your livelihood that's being affected.
This is real life.
Yeah, this is actual real life. It's not something it's not fantasy football league anymore. This is your future that you're having to plan for. And I guess this is kind of the wake up call for everyone who is not really into politics. And it's kind of sad to say, but it's even if Trump doesn't get reelected in 2020, if he does get impeached or whatever, and Mike Pence takes over or whatever, all this kind of shows is just you can get away with a lot. You can say it, things can come out about you, allegations come out you, proof can come out about you, and the general American populace would be either, oh, that's horrible, and then forget about it, or they'll be like, hey, he's a human being, whatever, just move on, and then everything will be fine. So, yeah, I want to I want some of that. I want to.
I feel like you're right. It is a mixed bag for the future of the country. Like the good things are gonna come out of this, or that people are gonna, like you said, they're gonna realize that you can get away with a lot of stuff, and people have been getting away with stuff for a long time, but now it's so out in the open. We're gonna recognize it as a real problem and hopefully attack it and make new campaign finance laws, election reform, all that stuff. Lock down the security process for all of that so we can't get hacked or whatever. People also, though, don't realize that Russia has, always been a thing.
Yeah.
And it's just ramping up. It seems like it's ramping up. But that's the thing that is going to be harped on for a long time now, too. And that's kind of a good thing to just fortify your national security.
It's just weird that, 90s kids are just like, holy shit, what's going on? And we have to actually, because when you're growing up, like you're saying, you grew up with playing N64 or Super Nintendo or whatever, and that was just you, and it's you come a long way to become dealing with this type of stuff. And I know it's the same for any generation, where it's one day it's okay, I care about politics, but I didn't think I was going to be in my mid-20s dude, we have to do something about this.
Hey,
and the bad parts. Sorry, go ahead, Brad.
I want to if we can just switch gears just a little bit. I want to talk about what's coming up for us is the midterms. I don't know if y'all have been.
You better fucking vote.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all been keeping up a little bit.
I'm registered to vote. I'm ready to vote.
I'm registered as well.
I think I need to re-register very soon because I moved.
I know who I'm voting for.
Yeah,
gonna go red.
But no, for real. Have y'all been keeping up at all with Beto?
Yeah.
He's very close in the polls, at least.
There was actually something that came out recently too with Ted Cruz where he might have violated.
Did they ever do their Spanish debate?
No, they haven't had an actual debate at all. Of
course.
But something that I've been kind of noticing is that wherever I go, I see. I'm not going to say a lot, but I see signs for Beto.
Oh yeah.
I've never once seen a Ted Cruz sign anywhere.
I'm not going to give my address, but if you go drive throughout my neighborhood, I'm going to say it's near.
Where do you live, Bobby?
Near UNT. Let's just say that. But God, I shouldn't have said that. I'm going to get fucking doxxed now. If you drive through my neighborhood, I've not seen a single Ted Cruz sign. It's all Beto. Almost every single house has a Beto.
I don't think nobody actually likes Beto. They deal with Beto. Or not Beto, Ted Cruz. Yeah.
I was going to say,
what do we have to do with
he's so nice. No, something I was going to say, though, is that, in my parents' neighborhood, I remember, back around 2016, did you get a really hazy pour?
Oh,
yeah, the more you pour out of it, the hazier it gets.
Yeah, you're starting to get more of the yeast. Anyway, so back during the 2016 election, I remember when I would go drive to my parents' house, going around the corner there. I remember seeing a house with a Trump yard sign. But nowadays, when I've been driving to their house, the house next to whatever the house was, I'm pretty sure has a Beto sign in there. And it's just yeah, stick it to him.
Yeah, I've seen a fair amount of Beto signs as well.
Yeah.
There's some in Fort Worth whenever I go down to band practice and stuff. There's some in Dallas here and there.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a lot in Denton.
I
remember seeing some even before I moved.
For me, I'm definitely probably on board with a lot of the things that Beto's for and all that kind of stuff. But
sure.
I'd have to say at least 75% of it is just get Ted Cruz out of there.
Pretty much, yeah.
Beto does a good job
2018.
of blue waves coming, I guess. We'll see. But the thing with Beto is that he encompasses what I think Texans, what a lot of Texans, and I'd like to hope a majority of them generally support. The thing is that he supports for veterans' rights, and that's one of those. And I'm not trying to sound like a campaign, supporter of him or anything like that, part of his campaign trail or anything. I'm not going to say if I necessarily will vote for him or not. Even that's my own personal thing. But one of the things that he encompasses, a lot of Texans, and Texas, I think, has the greatest contributor members to the armed forces, enlistment-wise, out of any other state in the United States. I don't know if that's still true, but I'm pretty sure it is. I remember a long time ago when I looked it up, it was the case. And he supports a lot of veteran rights. There's a lot of veterans who are hurting out there and who are, just generally, they're not getting their GI Bill. They're not getting to go to the VA and get the medical help that they need after serving, whether that be physically or mentally. And, a lot of people voted for Trump just for the reason of, well, he's the one who's mentioning, taking care of the veterans, which is a very important thing, but he never followed through with that.
Yeah.
You would think that would be a conservative talking point.
But he's taking care of the veterans. We're going to have our military parade. It's okay.
Yeah, and also Space Force.
I got canceled.
The problem is that the programs that would help the veterans are liberally social, and so conservatives don't want to support them.
Exactly.
Well, and they do, but the thing is that conservatives don't know how to enact them without having to follow certain, I feel like, maybe more liberal ideal sets, because it's a similar thing as Social Security, which Social Security is a more liberal idea brought upon by the Great Depression, trying to get out of that shit. But the thing that Beto also does is he believes in gun rights, in gun laws, but he doesn't believe that taking away guns. He's a perfect.
He seems like that happy medium.
Short, sweet, to the point. He's a guy who skateboards, is about punk rock. Let pot be grown and let cities decide if they want it. Let's there be more, support for immigrants that are coming in that are going by the legal standard and have an actual system built in place, since we are probably the largest border to another country, more than any other state out there. And also, he is still connected and with the youth, or with the younger generation, as well as understanding what it means to be a family man. And also, the other biggest thing is that he's not supported by super PACs, and
I think he's got like a really good chance, because I think he's the closest thing that we're going to get to a moderate candidate.
Well, and that's the thing, is that he is, and I said this many times before,
he actually is very moderate, but he looks very liberal.
He looks very liberal, because all the Republicans are so far right, you can't see him anymore.
He's a Texan liberal. A true Texan liberal. And I say this, and this is a term that I make up, but I think a Texan liberal is somebody who supports individual rights, but, that the government should help out where it can. Not where it believes it should, but where it can help out. Where it can help out on, small bits and pieces here and there, and let the individual and the person decide for themselves. So
basically what moderate should be.
Well, most people moderate should be, but, with also the idea that people should still be allowed to have guns and support the military.
I think moderates believe that.
I love guns.
It's hit and miss depending on what state you're in.
Depending on the moderate.
I think a Coloradian. Well, actually, Colorado had more guns than Texas did. To be honest,
you were telling us about how they're like, I got this hand cannon and they're gonna blow away.
He's got a hand cannon and he just got done smoking a joint outside. I gotta say, I honestly don't know. But in that point though, most people would view him as liberal here in Texas, ultra liberal.
Yeah.
But if you went up to Chicago or like in New York, or maybe say Washington is probably the best example. If you were to be up in Washington, they would say that he was still very much so moderate, maybe even lightly conservative with a lot of his ideas, because he doesn't necessarily support, full on like open the borders, let them all in. He just suggests the idea of
treating them like humans,
treat them like actual human beings, and actually make a process that doesn't tear their kids away, but understand that we have a responsibility on this hemisphere of the world. And we took that mantle up years ago whenever we decided to sit there and act like big badasses. And, we should take care of our people first, too, which is why he takes care of the patriots, the ones that actually were in the military and stuff like that. But, there's many sides to this coin, it feels like, or more like a die than anything else. And that you should probably try to cover all of them, not just focus on just one side. But
needless to say, don't really like to try to pick sides publicly, but I definitely think he's a great guy that's got a lot of good ideas for Texas.
But Hillary's email.
We can all agree that.
I don't even think that he necessarily even supports Hillary. I mean, it's my knowledge.
Well, I mean, what we can all
Hillary has
agree.
their own problems.
What we can all agree here is that Ted Cruz is the Zodiac killer. So that's definitely something that we don't want in our Texas office.
We will not surrender.
What's that from? I know
He
Ted Cruz
said
said
that.
that. I know he said that, but like, what was he referencing?
I have no idea, dude. Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy. Anyway, so
Damn it, dude.
all right, let's try to wrap this up here. So as a reminder, we've been drinking this big ass bottle of beer.
Oh, Jesus.
Yep.
Yeah. And we've been keeping track on it with our snazzy new score sheets.
Our
So-
score sheets, we also plan to have these available on our website. So that way, I know we talk a lot about our beer ratings on the cast, and we never really record them. But so that way, you, our listeners and viewers, can reference it. We will have it available on our website, hopefully at the same time as whenever we're releasing the actual cast online. That way you can go ahead and see what we thought of the beer and make an educated decision for yourself next time you're over at your local craft beer headquarters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go around the table like we normally do, but this time let's change it up a little bit. So like I mentioned before, we have our 5 categories: aroma, appearance, flavor, mouthfeel, and overall impression. And each of those have a score. Just as like quick rundown, aroma is out of 12. Appearance is out of 3, flavor is out of 20, mouthfeel out of 5, and overall impression out of 10 for a total score out of 50. So what I'd like us to do when we go around is give your thoughts about the beer, but also like briefly go through and say what score you gave each category, and then give your overall impression. Just so that we know like what each category is making, because I know I've got a couple categories that are really high on here and a couple categories that are a little bit lacking. So yeah, so we can definitely talk about that. I had another note, but if I think about it, I will mention it. Zach, start telling us about your thoughts.
Why the hell are you going the other way, man?
The other way, we always go this way.
No, we don't. We start over the other direction.
No,
I
we
thought.
start your
We
side.
always start with you.
You want to go this
Zach.
way? Hey, wait, I can go first. It's fine.
Well, okay, let me go ahead and get started here. Aroma, I gave it a 7 out of 12. The reason for it was because, there's no reason for it. I mean, it's more so, my notes on that were that it was a fruity beer, in my mind, reminiscent to a sour. I didn't smell grass clippings like I do with a lot of farmhouse ales, which is what tonight's category, or I guess you could say type of beer, was. I do also want to note that one of the special ingredients in this beer was raspberry. And for appearance, I gave that one a 3 out of 3. I thought it was perfect in appearance, and it was exactly what I was expecting, plus a little bit more because of how large the beer was. I felt like overall it did keep a relative consistency. It was cloudy. It had a normal head all the way through the pour, and generally held a amber color that I found was very attractive for the style of beer that we were drinking tonight. The flavor, you can definitely taste the raspberry. I felt like it was a very heavy flavor. I felt like it was slightly hoppy, and generally reminded me a bit of like a sour. Very light one, and I think that was just for the fact that it was brewed with raspberries. So for that category, I give it a 14 out of 20. For the mouthfeel, nothing special. Pretty run-of-the-mill. It had a very good carbonation to it. I just want to make a note that from what we've heard, the beer that we were drinking tonight, it was in the same size bottle at the Bearded Monk a year ago. And Brad, I'll let you go ahead and touch on this.
A few years ago.
A few years ago, yeah. And the cork was backing out of the top of it because there's so much beer in there, and because it did have that, I guess maybe more so natural carbonation brought on by yeast instead of actually forced carbonation, and because of that, there's a lot of yeast in that bottle, I can already tell, man. So it would become more carbonated all the way through, and because of that, I think that kind of contributed to the good carbonation. So like I said, 3 out of 5 in that category. Overall impression, I'm going to go ahead and start out with that score. That was a 7 out of 10 to me. I felt like it was a very good beer for a farmhouse ale, but I did feel that it was a little heavy on the hoppiness as compared to some of the other farmhouse ales that we had, such as, who does Iceman?
Iceman is actually a cider,
Angry Orchard.
but that's Angry Orchard.
Well, what was the one that we did that they also do that was a farmhouse ale?
They
This
do
one
have
was
a
larger.
They do have a farmhouse cider, and that's called the Straw Man.
The Straw Man, it kind of reminded me of Straw Man for that reason, and I've had a couple other farmhouse ales in the past, but I can't remember the name, the reason why we're going to start doing the score sheets.
Right. Yeah.
But I felt like it was a little hoppy, and those of you that listen to the cast know that I'm not necessarily a huge fan of IPAs. I look for drinkability, and it is definitely very drinkable. Solid, like I said, 7 out of 10. To be honest, I would drink it if I had all my buddies to go in on it with me, like how we did tonight. But I would not seek this out and have it on my own, generally because of the size more than anything else.
Well, for what it is worth, I have found this before in smaller sizes, but given that this is probably a semi-old beer, I don't think that they have that size anymore.
Right. Well, and so for that, total score would come out to 34 points out of 50.
All right,
Pretty cool.
Joseph.
So I'm going to go backwards a little bit. I'm going to say my total first, which was 27 out of 50. It's about a 5 out of 10. Let me start over here at the top with the aroma. I gave the aroma an 8 out of 12. I enjoyed their aroma. I could smell a little bit of the malt. It was sweet and fruity, definitely probably from the raspberry. Moving on to appearance, I gave the appearance a 2 out of 3. Reason being, it was amber colored, like kind of like an ale should be. And it wasn't clear, like an ale shouldn't be super clear.
Right.
And it stayed not clear, the more you got and stuff. So it didn't get a perfect score because, yeast isn't bad, but I feel like a beer should be generally the same color, and it definitely did darken, with the yeast and stuff.
Could you enlighten us? I know you and Brad are more so the beer aficionados. Would you be able to tell me, is the farmhouse ale supposed to be a filtered beer, traditionally speaking? I feel like with the name farmhouse, it would be more kind of grassroots, kind of just natural fermentation. As we know, it's not forced carbonated. Would you not want to have it filtered? Is a farmhouse ale?
I would guess no. I would, yeah.
Okay.
It being an ale in general. Anyway, moving on to flavor. Flavor, I gave it an 8 out of 20. Not quite a full half score. The reason being is the aftertaste to me wasn't that good. And Zach was right when he said it was like kind of like a sour. And that's also why it lost points to me, is because that's not the right style. It was very tart and fruity in the beginning. I didn't get too many hops in there. I could definitely taste the malt kind of throughout, but it wasn't really up there. It definitely more malt taste, I think, would have helped it. So 8 out of 20 for that. Mouthfeel, 4 out of 5. That's because it had very good carbonation. Overall impression, I gave it a 5 out of 10, and the total score happened to kind of line up with that.
All right, cool. Scott?
Yeah, so for aroma, I gave it an 8 out of 12. I said it had like a rich fruit smell to it. It kind of made me think of something dark, and kind of like a bittery smell to it as well. As far as appearance, I just gave it a 3 out of 3. Although I said it was burnt orange as opposed to amber, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I have an SRM meter if you would like to compare it.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right.
For flavor, I gave it a 15 out of 20. For me, I was a little disappointed. Like, it doesn't quite taste like a raspberry, and it doesn't quite taste like a farmhouse ale. So I don't know. I docked it down to 15 because it was just sort of hints of raspberry, but its finish was more bittery or tart.
The scale,
which I don't know. I kind of like, but I like it if you have more flavor, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I totally get you.
Mouthfeel, I really liked the way this felt. I felt kind of a creaminess, and it had good carbonation to it, so I gave that a 5 out of 5. Overall impression, I gave it a 7 out of 10. I said it was like a good combo, but it was neither a raspberry or a farmhouse, in my opinion.
Gotcha.
And so overall, it was a 38 out of 50, or about a 7.5.
Nice.
Or, I'm sorry, 7.3. which is probably where I would have placed it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I was excited, but it didn't quite live up to what I wanted it to be.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Bobby?
All right, so for aroma, give it an 8 out of 12. The one thing that kind of put me off was it's kind of acidic and almost kind of mildewy smell because I know it's fermented, like basically fruit. So I don't like that smell. But like overall, I mean, it was okay. It smelled like raspberries. It kind of hit your nose the same way initially that a cider or like mead would hit you, where you can kind of smell the alcohol a little bit, and then it kind of just the other aromas would hit you in like the fruit aroma. For appearance, I gave it a 3 out of 3 because that color was awesome. It was a 14. The SRM was like 14, I guess, to 22. Did definitely have like a blood orange type of color, but like less clear. So I thought it was cool looking. One thing I did put at the very end, because I got one of the last pours, was that it got hazier as you got toward the bottom of the bottle, which is normal because there's yeast at the bottom. Flavor, I got 15 out of 20, and that's just because that kind of fermenty taste, I guess, that you get with fruit beers, I guess. Where it was good, it had really tangy and bubbly aftertaste. The carbonation was it's actually for mouthfeel. Well, yeah, no, it was. I thought it was good like overall. I like the taste of it. Mouthfeel, a 3 out of 5. It had really strong carbonation, which was good, but I didn't like how the aftertaste was kind of tart on the tongue. It was weird.
It might have accentuated it.
Yeah, and then also because I got one of the last pours of the beer, toward the end it kind of got like I don't know. So 3 out of 5 for that one. Overall, I gave it 8 out of 10.
All right.
I overall liked it. I thought it was pretty good. It's just, I guess as it went on, I was like, kind of expecting more, but it was good. So the total was 37 out of 50 for me. So
all right,
which is pretty good. Cool. I would drink it again, but I wouldn't drink it alone because it's a big ass beer.
All right, yeah. So, So starting with aroma, I gave it a 10 out of 12. I actually really like the aroma of this one.
What the fuck?
Like, I don't know. For me, I think like just because like, I mean, I know you guys like, beer's not your favorite alcoholic drink, so you guys are usually drinking something else. But for me, like whiskey. Yeah, for me, beer's my favorite. That's my go-to alcoholic drink. So I think the fruitiness like lended something like just different enough that I really liked it. Like it gave it a nice raspberry aroma that I really enjoyed. Appearance is a 3 out of 3. I described it as a hazy pinkish orange. Was what it looked like to me.
So amber.
Hey man, I said burnt orange.
I said
to me it was different than amber though. But
amber's maybe a little bit too light in hindsight.
If you got a blood orange and you put it in a cup, that's what it would look like.
I mean, yeah, for the style it was appropriate.
Just
It's supposed to be hazy for a farmhouse. I think the raspberries is what gave it kind of like a pinkish hue. Flavor, I gave it 13 out of 20. I was really kind of disappointed by the flavor.
Yeah, it was alright.
Yeah.
Like I just drank it and it like for like how we hyped this up, it pulled up short.
I think we can all kind of agree on that based upon our total score and overall impression too. But go ahead.
That's definitely what happened for me there. Mouthfeel 4 out of 5. It was light for me for the style. That's kind of expected. Farmhouse is not supposed to be a very heavy drink, so that's kind of how I got out of that. Overall impression was a 7 out of 10. It was decent. Like I said, it pulled up short of what we hyped it up for. So like for a farmhouse ale, which is supposed to be kind of, I mean, like just kind of take like a general ale, but like with farmhouse ales, the way that kind of like started is that you're on the farm, you can't really get to a city, so you got to make your own beverages, you got to ferment it yourself. And what they're doing is fermenting it with at the time they're fermenting it with their own wild yeast and wild bacteria that was in the air and in the area. And that gives it a natural sourness and tartness, and that's kind of what I got out of this. So farmhouse ales tend to be just a little bit tart, a little bit sour, not quite full like a sour beer, but you definitely get that sour tart flavor, which is definitely what I got from this. It definitely, to me, it hit the style pretty well.
But see, I think that Armadillo does a much better farmhouse ale.
You have a farmhouse ale?
Yeah, or isn't that what Greenbelt is?
No, that one right there is more of a it's not a farmhouse, I will say that. It's some kind of
What's Greenbelt? I thought it was.
It's an IPA.
Yeah, somebody look that up because I'm pretty sure it's not a farmhouse.
What I will say though is that I think that we can all agree upon that this wasn't exactly what we were hoping for, and I think that kind of has to do with the hype, not just brought up by us leading up to the cast, but also by
just the size of the beer.
No, it's a farmhouse.
Greenbelt is a farmhouse ale.
Is that what they say? Okay,
Yeah,
I don't know if I've actually
for
had
that.
Greenbelt. Okay, so
I really like Greenbelt, and to me, Greenbelt is much better than this is.
and it could be different. I can't speak for Armadillo because I don't know their process, but they might be using a more controlled strain of yeast.
Considering that it's one of their ones that you can buy, I believe at the store even. It's one of
I
their
have seen it.
standard
The
the reason
distribution.
I like it is because literally it's across the street from me at Winco. So
Nice.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, I can't speak for them, but I'm assuming that they're using a slightly more controlled strain of yeast for that.
What'd you say that your total was? Did you present that yet?
My total was 37 out of 50, just
Hey,
like
was
Bobby.
mine, man.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
mine was 30,
So-
38.
I did
pretty
34
close.
on mine.
So
27 for me.
I'm considering 37 like the perfect average mark. If you look down at the bottom left of your judging sheet, you've got the different ranges for what they consider outstanding, excellent, very good, good.
Considered very good is what
30,
we've given it
37,
as.
yeah, 37. Like this beer falls into the very good range. It hits the style guidelines, but it's not amazing.
That flavor.
yeah.
was-
Can I mean, my theory that I was saying, I think that it wasn't even just the fact that we were hyping it up because it was like
A giant
it was,
ass bottle.
Well, no, because of our reunion and because of the giant bottle. And actually going back to the giant bottle, I think really what they try to do, and I don't think that you guys will be able to see the bottle, our listeners and viewers, but they have a little comic on there. It's a very stylized artwork on the
Yeah.
bottle. It is just generally a novelty-sized bottle, as well as the price tag being as high as it is. I think it actually lends to the marketing and hype up by the company, not just by us as a podcast team here. I think that's kind of what they go for, though.
And I'd like to speak to that because, like I said, the brewery here was Prairie.
Yes.
And one of the things that they are known for is they've got like that kind of style artwork on pretty much all their beers. It's a very different style from some of the beers that you see in the store. And like I said before, like if I found this beer just in a bar on draft or something like that, it'd be a good choice. It's definitely a good choice. But, this being the giant bottle that it is, that we spent $120 for, granted we split it 5 ways, so it's different.
No matter what, it's still a huge price tag for a huge bottle. It's not like you can buy a 6-pack, which would be probably about the same amount, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit less.
I'm trying to remember, like, how it was priced. I'm sure it was priced reasonably when I bought it, like, in a slightly more single-serve version. It was almost a bomber. But like I've found it in a bar on draft before, and it's reasonably priced. It's definitely something that I would get in a bar just on draft. It's overall a decent beer. It's not blow your socks off, but it's good.
I mean, I guess I just think like I had Revolver Blood Orange, or what is it?
Blood and Honey.
Blood and
Blood and
honey
Honey.
today, and like to me that
hate
had
that.
just you
I
don't
just gotta
like it?
say real quick, I absolutely hate that. I hate the beer. I understand what they're trying to do, but I've had it multiple times.
So
Every
Scott,
time I had it, I regret
Scott,
it.
you're
Everybody
gonna
hypes that
cut
beer a
that
lot.
out of the final cast.
I was just gonna say I
I
think
do kind of feel like Blood and Honey is like Babby's first craft, like pretend.
No, you're right, and we'll get to that. I'm sorry, Scott, you got to finish.
to completely destroy my point, but like, I think
Fuck you, Scott.
that's a better combination of the acidicness and the sweetness with a beer than this was.
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah. To speak to your point, Joseph, I think you're right. Just because, like, when I was first getting into beer, I saw Blood and Honey in the stores, and like just like its packaging and like everything like really drew me to it. And like like at the time, it was still craft beer, and it's a really good one. I will drink Blood and Honey.
good.
And
It
I will
is
drink
good.
Blood and Honey any
It's
day.
not bad.
The problem is that they've been bought by Miller
By
Coors.
big,
Right, yeah.
by big fucking companies.
Exactly. So they're not craft anymore. So unfortunately, I forgot what the main.
My point was, though, I think they do a better combination of flavors than what this does.
Would you say that this is the Dark Souls of beer?
Bobby, I don't even know what that would be.
Only you would know.
Hold on. I guess that would be like Stone IPA or something.
Dude, I
So I have a question. Did you guys mark any descriptor definitions?
did actually. So we'll go around. I'll start real quick. kind of astringent. Like there was a couple of the descriptors in there that I think were relevant.
Yep.
For me, definitely S3.
Yeah.
And of course, sour and acidic. That's what I marked down. Zach?
Mild alcoholic, sour, acidic, and yeasty.
I did like a half kind of check for the acetaldehyde, but only because of the aroma. And alcoholic is another kind of a half because it got kind of alcohol-y. Astringent got a full. S3 as well for the aroma. And sour acidic got another full kind of check there.
I got to say real quick, I forgot to mention I did have the green apple acetaldehyde or acetaldehyde. Yes, I did also have that as well.
All right, cool. And so quick note about these descriptors that we're listing off is that 9 times out of 10 for a given style, these are what are called off flavors. These are things you're not supposed to taste. But given that we're tasting a farmhouse, S3, well, first of all, S3 when you're tasting an ale is most often okay. That's supposed to be there.
Yeah.
But most of the other ones are not supposed to be. But since we're doing a farmhouse ale, some of these other ones are to be expected. I just wanted to point that out real quick. Okay, Scott.
I put alcoholic, S3, phenolic, whatever the one that's spicy.
Phenolic.
Yeah. Sour / acidic. And then I put yeasty, but I was the last one to be poured.
So you probably
my first one was already
that would make sense. Bobby.
I actually put dimethyl sulfide DMS a little bit because there actually kind of was that weird. I guess this was the last pour. It was mainly that one of the last pours. Definitely S3 as well. Musty for sure. There was definitely kind of a smell to it, like with some of the aroma.
Yeah.
And then of course sour acidic, and I would agree with Scott on yeasty toward the end.
Right.
Toward the end,
Yeah.
more the bottle drained. I feel like
because you've all the yeast was probably sitting on the bottom and it got stirred up.
One thing I want to say is I love this column because especially when you're doing liquor tasting, one of the things they ask you to do is try and pick out flavors that you taste and stuff like that.
Right.
And for every single person, it's going to be something different.
Yeah.
I don't know how many podcasts I've listened to where it's they're drinking bourbon and it's I get the wood, I get the cherry, I get the blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's this just goes to show how each one of us, we had kind of similar stuff, but then we each also picked out something different.
And something I've noticed when I've been trying to notate my tastings and stuff like that is that sometimes that you need a prompt. You need something to tell you, do you taste this?
Problem is though, you can actually influence someone's flavor.
Yeah,
by
and
doing
that's also true. But on that note, I do want us to get some of these books.
Some more 33 bottles of beer.
Yeah, because it's got this wheel down here with all the types of flavors of those, and it'll really give us kind of a 1 to 5 sort of thing about that. Joseph, we've done those books for years.
Yeah.
I just pulled out my stash of those, but
Nice.
And I'm not saying it's bad. I like it because it actually gets you to think about the beer, maybe pick out some stuff that you like or dislike.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so I think we've thoroughly dissected this beer.
Yeah.
Go
play Dark Souls.
Go play Dark Souls.
don't buy the trilogy though. Just go play it.
Don't commit election fraud.
You can do whatever you want.
Don't commit election fraud. Spend about $700 to $800 on your entry level gaming PC. And be sure to check us out on all of our channels, beersattheroundtable.com, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, all the others. If you can find a podcast on there, there's a good chance you should be able to find us on there. If you can't, let us know and we will get on there.
We will get on there.
We will be there. Season 2, episode 3, we're going to continue to try and do these weird different things, like a big ass giant bottle of beer and things like that. If you have a recommendation of something that you'd like us to do, let us know and we will certainly give it a try. Bobby's displaying our wonderful bottle of beer there.
This thing is still really heavy.
That reminds me of China University on Adult Swim.
Yeah. You're right.
Adult Swim, please support us.
China, Illinois.
China, Illinois, please support us, Adult Swim.
But yeah, so thanks for joining us. Hope you join us next time, which would hopefully be sooner than it was this past time.
Sorry about that, guys.
It's been a busy summer for all 5 of us, for sure.
Yep.
So
Hopefully, going
I'll
back
be
into
married probably by the next time we do a podcast.
Hey.
maybe, yeah.
Actually, maybe we'll do a podcast on the
Right before the marriage.
Yeah,
at the
well,
altar.
I'm trying to plan something before, like that day of, but we actually do something.
Yeah,
so.
for sure. Yeah. So stay tuned. Watch our Facebook. There's always updates on there. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Join us next time. Be sure to crack a cold one with your boys.
Bitch.